Good evening. I'd like to start out and explain to you, I'd like to start out and let you know how this originally started. This event that took place today started on Tuesday, January 3rd at approximately 3:30 a.m. when a man identified as Pablo Patino Busto set fire to a residence where his estranged wife slept, which was the address of 11426 Mortimer Street. The suspect fled the scene after hitting his wife with the car. The Harris County Fire Marshal's Office investigators, the Harris County Sheriff's Department Viper team started a search for the suspect. He has been charged with that particular incident with a charge of arson of a habitation, violation of a protection order, and aggravated assault. The suspect was located today at his home, located at 3207 Lotus Blossom at approximately 2:30 p.m. With assistance from the Harris County Precinct 4 Constable's Office, who was assisting the wife with retrieving items from her home, the deputies cleared the home and located the suspect within the home in a room. The suspect remained in the home with a weapon and barricaded himself. Harris County Sheriff's Department Viper team arrived, as did the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office investigations team. They came in with their drones, robots, and SWAT team and began the discussions of trying to get the suspect out. The suspect did come out on his own eventually, and the suspect is now in custody. He is en route to the hospital to check for any injuries that he might have. I will tell you that the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office investigators are on scene. They're going to be investigating this fire. More charges will be coming, but it will be a while before we know any more, because the Spring Fire Department, who is also here assisting, is still putting out the fire, going through hot spots, and ensuring the safety of those that go inside. So what I can tell you is that what we know at this time, and now I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Do I any questions now on the...
What already started?
So as we were saying, again, we have to do the investigation at this time. So the charges from Tuesday, and I can go back over those, the charges that he currently has from the previous incident on Tuesday were arson of a habitation, violation of a protective order, and aggravated assault. Again, this is a very active scene. So my office, and I know working with the Sheriff's Department, Precinct 4 Constable's Office, we will have to continue the investigation to determine any additional charges.
Fire Marshal, can you talk to us about the fire and when it actually started? Was he responsible for starting that fire? Is that how this played out?
Yes. During the course when Senior Deputy Thomas Gillen, Harris County Sheriff's Office, during the course of when SWAT operators and drone were put into the home, at one point he was discovered inside the attic of the home. When the robot went up to try to open a door that was on the attic, he was seen by the operators on the video, and the fire had already started behind him inside the attic. So he did start the fire that engulfed the house.
And then at what point that it became obvious he had to come? He had to get out of the house. It was just engulfed.
Oh, at that point it got to, that's when Spring Fire Department. And again, I need to reiterate that our partners, Harris County Precinct 4 Constables, the Spring Fire Department, and Harris County Fire Marshals. These scenes are quite fluid at any time, and the way we all worked together today was amazing work, in that he also was taken into custody and he was alive. While it was happening, it looked more and more that it was not going to end that way, especially when we're dealing with a desperate person that's been shown propensity for violence from the beginning, and that we were actually fully prepared to have to deal with a different situation than the way it went.
Can you talk to us about this?
About taking it step by step, like how you saw him on video with all your equipment, you guys were all talking to him, and eventually you guys got to him and he had choices.
Sure. Originally, it starts in the beginning. It all starts with H&T, which is a lifeline of our SWAT. They are talking to this individual, trying to get a rapport with him, and to talk with him and to see exactly what state of mind he's dealing with, and also to get our point to see him to come in to exit safely. You have to give kudos to them. It took almost 3.5–4 hours to get him to understand, and then finally when the house did become so engulfed that he did try to find an exit from the one window that was above the garage, and he was then taken safely in by operators.
Can you talk to us about the situation with firefighters?
He never engaged with us at any time.
So he never
The only time we made contact with him is when the robot spotted him on the attic, and he began throwing objects at the robot and started the fire.
Hey, can somebody explain, because I know there's people who live around here who are kind of like watching going, why aren't you guys going in? Why aren't you dumping fire out? Is my house going to burn up? Can you guys kind of talk to us why you guys held back? Or it looked to us holding back? Not being experts.
So I can tell you, and then I'll let Spring talk a little bit. You know, like we said, our main goal is to save lives and property when we show up on a scene. And talking about the communication, one of the things we get into is what's called a unified command system. We are talking to each other. How should we work together? So the fire department is a big part of that, and they can talk about the suppression activities and the protection that they do to ensure the safety of the residents in the area.
Scott Schoonover, Deputy Chief, Spring Fire Department. And just give you a background, so we have to make sure that the scene is safe for our firemen, our personnel. In this particular case, he was still inside, so we had to do a strategic approach, and we had to make sure that our guys were safe. So we do that by having them put on ballistic vests. So they were doing that while they were fighting fire, and at that point, it wasn't go into the house because he's still in there and the threat's still there. So we, at that point, were protecting everything around the house. So the house is to the left, to the right, and behind. We want to make sure that the fire is not going to spread to that. And then once he made it out, now we were able to go and actively fight the fire. And with this particular case, our ladder truck was the first one on scene. We were able to start cooling the fire down while he was still inside with the ladder pipe, so nobody was put into any harm's way with it.
Is the house a total loss, and any idea if he's injured?
I'm not sure on injuries, but the house is going to be a total.
What about neighboring homes?
My last report is neither one of the houses on each side were damaged.
Can someone talk about how this started the day after Christmas with the man allegedly assaulting his wife?
I don't think we have that one as far, but I would like to bring in Precinct 4. They played a vital role to keep the suspect inside the home. Captain, if you'd like to tell them exactly when they started.
Captain Santa Medina. Today at 1:14, we received a phone call from the wife wanting us to assist her in making the location because she wasn't sure if her husband was going to be at the address. She wanted to grab some of the property. We get to the location. We knew who he was. We knew how violent he was, so we actually set up our SAU team and K9 team to come out and clear the residence. We go in and find him in the residence. They're in the house. Luckily, we didn't allow any of the family members to come in. They stayed outside. And once it occurred, and once we knew he barricaded himself with a weapon, we disengaged, set up a perimeter, contacted HCSO Watch Command, who then brought out their SWAT team.
When did they know?
He didn't say anything to us, sir.
Where was he when you guys?
He was inside the house. He went to one of the rooms.
I'm told that he said that he would kill everybody in sight.
I can't comment on them. No.
Sorry, you said that they cleared the house and then y'all went in?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Our deputies and our K9 team went inside the house to look for the suspect.
When he cleared it?
Yes.
Did he
But-
point a gun? Did they see him?
We
with
didn't
the
see
gun?
him with the gun. We just knew that's what he said. He had a gun, so we did what we needed to do.
Do you guys know around when he set the fire? Was it when you guys were there, or was it after?
We don't know when the fire was set.
Sorry, how did you know he had a weapon?
He said he had one.
Oh, he did say that.
So there was some communication between him and.
Yeah, it was very minimal. Because once he said that, he barricaded himself, and that was that.
Was he already a fugitive from Tuesday's event?
Yes, ma'am. We knew he had warrants for his arrest.
So no shots were fired?
No, ma'am.
Is that why you all went there?
Yes, sir. We got contacted by the wife because she thought he could be at the residence.
But you're there because he had warrants, right?
We knew that he was wanted, and the possibility of him being here, just in case he decided to engage us or flee. That's why we had our SWAT team. Our K9 team out here.
She was coming to get her belongings.
Yeah, so you didn't go to the house to try to locate him per se.
No, ma'am. We came to the house because the wife contacted us, wanted to make the location, not knowing whether her husband was going to be.
I have a question about the fire. Do we know how it was started? How he started the fire?
We do not know that yet. Again, Spring Fire Department, they're still putting out hot spots. It's going to take a while to put those out, dig that out. And so the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office investigators will be out here all night doing our calls and determination.
And we saw a lot of heavy equipment tearing parts of the house. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can't. Yes, sir. So again, one of the things that we want to do is we always want to try to save the life. And the idea was they knew exactly, they were doing a great job, the Sheriff's Department, with their drones. They were able to see what we couldn't see with our eyes. And by that, they knew where he was located above the garage. And the decision was made, hey, if we can save that individual, let's try to do that. And so they used that equipment to try to break down the walls to allow him access out. And he did choose to do that.
Do you know if at any point there was any tear gas or anything like that used?
I do not know.
Yes, was deployed.
Tear gas was deployed?
Tear gas was deployed. CS gas was put in originally first. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, early on after SWAT operators arrived, CS gas was used in order to try to push him out of the house. That was not successful at that point. And then the bear was also used during the RAD system, telling him and keep telling him to come out. And then we, step by step, the long process that we have, a sort of a use of force type deal. We start out at the least and then move up. But the rook itself was used that you saw earlier, that was raised to push holes into the structure to force to be able to see inside, because you have a video on that. So if you have a person that's in an attic, you can't see them, but if we can punch holes through the air, it's more safe for our operators and everyone else that are dealing with it.
Was it his house?
Yes. Yes.
Did you know that he was alive the whole time? Did you always know that he was in there?
No, we didn't make contact until the fire actually was engulfed on the first floor.
And do we know when people can get back into their homes?
What time would that be, Chief?
How many people were totally involved? How many law enforcement?
No.
You guys have any idea? It seems like a massive effort, and I guess
it's a very large effort. We have at least 20 operators, our drone operators, our HNT people.
20 from us, yeah.
At least 60 to 70 people easily. And again,
We have 40 firemen.
To stress that the interaction of all the agencies working together and having one plan to work together on is can't say enough about what professionalism that we deal with every day.
Sorry, do we know when people can get back into their homes?
I don't have that yet until the fires are
I
completely
can
out.
give a little bit. So we got a lot of the fire knocked out because the roof is collapsed inside the house. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult to get to some of those hot spots. But as we get more of the fire put out, we'll shrink the scene down and more people will be able to get in. So it may not be too much longer, but we're working on getting everybody back into their house.
What do we know about his condition when he came out of the house? Was he injured? Was there smoke inhalation? What do we know about his injuries?
We do not know. We don't know he was able to come out of the house on his own. And again, he's been transported because our goal is to make sure he's evaluated for any injuries and to make sure he's taken care of. If there's anything else I can also leave you with, that if we can make sure that your viewers know, I think what we know with Precinct 4 going in with the wife concerned about her safety. If you are concerned or there's domestic violence, we know a lot of things that go on. Please contact somebody. There is a number, 1-800-799-7233. 1-800-799-7233. That's a national domestic hotline, and we see these things go on. And again, we want to make sure we take care of people before they need to be taken care of, but also know that there's help out there if you need it. So thank you.
She obviously did the right thing, right? Because she
Absolutely.
called her today.
Absolutely.
Was the robot dog damaged? Because I remember you guys saying that the suspect was slinging objects at the robot dog.
No.
Robo dog is okay?
None of the three robots were.
Hey, Gil, could you give us any info on the December 26th arrest? Is there any info you can give us on that?
From Mortimer?
Yes. No. The one before that. It was
That was from
There was an incident here.
domestic violence.
Yeah, Precinct
December
4.
26th.
I don't have the
Precinct
information on
4.
that.
Well, the minimal information I have on that, just to the point, he was arrested for family assault, taken to jail, and then somehow he bonded out.
Can you talk to, I know you touched on it earlier, but how when this situation was unfolding, you guys were preparing for a different outcome. What
Well,
were you,
I guess let me try to explain. So we're dealing with a desperate person, capable of violence that we do know that he does, and we all know that desperate people do desperate things. So at most point, our SWAT operators and our HNT people, their most thing is to save life, and that's our main point to do. So again, sometimes it takes hours for us to get through to somebody, but if it takes 6 to 10 hours to get that done, then we will, because that's what we are. Preserving life is our first thing. But if he chooses to choose something else, then we have to go that course. But I know it was a long situation for family members and neighbors trying to get in, but they have to understand that our safety and their safety is our first priority.
How are you feeling about how everything?
Oh, I think everything went. I can't reiterate. I told the sheriff earlier, and the sheriff was also that just the coordination between our law enforcement, the fire, and that, they couldn't ask for a better outcome. It makes me very proud that we don't have a situation that turned very tragic. The family's already had enough tragedy. Losing that would be even worse.
Do you know if he said anything when he came out of the house?
No, they took him into custody. He tried to flee at one time back into the house, but we stopped him and took him back into custody. So.
Really? When he came out, he tried to flee?
Yeah, he tried to flee again.
Do you know if the home is his in his name or a rental property? Or
We were told that it was his home, his
home.
actual abode. All right.
Thanks, you guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.